Bethany House was a vision of mine after I adopted a young lady who was aging out of the foster care system and came to learn that there are probably other young ladies who were in need of home and support that my daughter did. So I work with a number of social service agencies in our area. So Children's Youth Services is one of those, as well as Cumberland Cares, which is a homeless shelter here in our area. I've just reached out to them and let them know what Bethany House was and that it was available, and that we are a transitional living facility for young ladies who are aging out of the foster care system. And we provide supportive services for them, help them meet goals, and help them to move towards a life of self-sufficiency. We had a BMX Skate Park ministry, and it was for at-risk kids. And so one night we had these great big 6-foot ramps, and we'd have these kids show up with their bikes. There was a young lady that came, and she was in a foster care arrangement that was private. And one night she was sitting up on the ramps. It was the second night that I met her. And she said to me, "Hey, Amy, can I move in with you?" We often had kids who would joke around about moving in with us. So initially I kind of laughed it off, and I saw her face expression changed, and I thought, there's something more here. And she said, "No, I'm really serious. I need a place to live." I talked to her grandmother, who had attended our church, and a little bit about her situation, and realized that yes, she indeed did need a place to live. The arrangement that she had been in was not healthy for her. I was really concerned about her mental health and her well-being. And so I had exchanged numbers with her, and one day she called me and said, "I'm really concerned. I don't know what's going to happen, but I've overheard my foster parents talking about kicking me out, and if they do, I don't know where I'm going to go." And I just sensed the dire situation that it was, and I said to my husband, "I think we need to act on this sooner than later." And so we called the authorities and found out that she was 18, and we went to the home where she was living and talked to the foster parents and tried to have a cordial and agreeable arrangement, and that was not the case. But because Brittany wanted to come with us, we were able to do so. She came, and within a week, like, her whole countenance changed, everything about her. And I started getting emails from her school and her teachers saying, "What's going on? This kid's a whole different kid." And I realized, I didn't know what to say. It was just, we had a home, and she had sisters, and there was love, and there was support, and there was accountability, and it really changed her life. And so over the next year, we saw tremendous change. We ended up adopting her legally, which we didn't even know that we could do because she was an adult. And through this whole process, we just kept saying, how many more kids are there that might need an opportunity like she had? And so we decided that was obviously a dream of ours. We were waiting to see how that would unfold. There was a lot of people that would say things like, "Why do you need to move her in? Like, why can't you help her from afar? And that's a big risk. And how do you know she's not going to negatively influence your children?" And so we had those same concerns, but we really felt that God was calling us to do it. And so we acted out in faith. And obviously, being in ministry, I knew, and it wasn't my first time that I had people questioning things that we were doing. But when you know that God's leading you, you know that He's going to provide. As our girls grew up and kind of left the nest, and we had been through adopting a young lady, we decided that perhaps it was time for us to buy a home of our own and transition this home into a home for children who are aging out of the foster care system. Every Monday evening, we have a meal together. So we prepare a meal together. The girls, we have sometimes volunteers that will come in and they'll teach them a recipe. And other times, we just come up with a recipe of our own and we cook together. And the idea behind that is that we build community within the house. And so together, one person's chopping the carrots and another person might be boiling the pasta. And we just work together to have a meal and enjoy a meal together. And then after that, we have our evening meeting or a project that we work on together. We have this whiteboard and they write their grocery lists. It's blank right now because our intern is actually shopping currently. She often will take one of her girls with her and they'll do the grocery shopping together. But we rely on gift cards from the community, and that's how we pay for the groceries every week. It's been absolutely amazing. I said I've learned more through this experience than I did in any Bible study in all my years of attending church. Just seeing ways that God just absolutely showed up. Most recently, It was Christmas Eve, actually, and we had a young lady come and stay with us for a weekend, and just as a trial for her to see if this was a good fit for her. And she came from the Cracked Pot. And on Sunday morning, she had somebody come and pick her up. And so when they picked her up, she said, "Hey, can I have a tour of the house?" And so I said, "Sure." So I gave her a tour of the house, and Emily from the Cracked Pot ended up calling me on Christmas Eve, and she said, "I have a question for you, and it's really off the wall, and you're not obligated in any way, but the young lady who came to you, or came to pick up the other young lady, she did a walk through the house, and she said, I can see myself there. Is there any possibility that you need a resident advisor?" And I actually got emotional because I had spoken that request to our pastor and his wife, but I never put it in the form of a prayer. It was just like, wouldn't it be great if we had somebody who was called to foster children and had experience working with them, and this was something that she would want to do. And wouldn't it be great if she was even a Messiah College student who was studying social work? And wouldn't you know it, the young lady that came was exactly that. She was from Messiah College. She has worked at the Cracked Pot, so she's worked with foster kids, and she was such a good fit. She has just been a blessing to be with us for the time period that she has, and it's been so necessary to give us peace of mind, because when you fill the house with young adults who are aging out of the foster care system, all from different backgrounds, you just don't know how that's gonna mix. And she has been here to just be a source and a source of peace, but also an example of what it looks like to live independently. We've had 4 young ladies so far who have come either from a homelessness situation or foster care, and 3 have been successful to date. One of those ended up coming, and she stayed with us for about a month. And the challenges that she faced was that she had, for 2 years, she had been living in a very different culture and a very different climate, in the sense of she was homeless, and so she was just kind of living from home to home or hotel to hotel, and she developed a social circle that was familiar with that. And so when she came to Bethany House, she initially did an amazing job, and she met all of her goals, and she was working diligently towards them. However, she still had those contacts with that peer group, and eventually they drove her away. And so we continue to keep in touch with her and continue to encourage her from afar. But I think that's something, depending on past history and really the young person's determination of where they are. Even the young lady that we adopted, she has admitted that earlier on she wasn't ready. So each of these young ladies have to kind of come to that place where, regardless of what past trauma they've experienced or what placements they've endured, they come to the place where they're like, I want to make this work. And obviously with that, it doesn't come instantaneously. There are uphill battles that we climb. There's a lot of trauma that they are dealing with. We have a young lady who just came to us, and she came from a history of abuse, and it's hard. It's hard to keep moving forward without having those flashbacks of the past. And so one of the very first things that we do when a young lady comes is we evaluate their mental health, and we get them into mental health counseling. And if that's all they do for the first couple of months is just focus on healing, that's fine. That hasn't been the case. All of the girls have been very eager to either start back up in school or gain employment so they can work towards their goals. But they do that simultaneously while getting the mental health help that they need. The community support has just been amazing, from large financial donations to gift cards to just donating material things that we need. Inviting us to speak in churches, networking with places like the Cracked Pot coffee shop, and that's another way that we receive our girls. And just as we share the story, people just want to get involved and help. Sitting on the porch, one of our donations. Kind of like Christmas every day, we get to open the box and see what we might find. This recent donation. We just got this, actually. Fishburne United Methodist Church in Hershey. Somehow they heard of us. I'm not actually sure where, and they contacted me, and they said, hey, we're gonna do a donation for Bethany House through the whole month of March. What needs do you have? And so I sent them a list, and they showed up in full force with all of these supplies for us. We are just delighted because it definitely helps our expenses.